national championships in the same year.
Yeah.
Now that would be pretty
Yeah, that-
friggin' amazing. That's like having the Kelsey brothers and
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
I see the other Kelsey retired.
Yeah, after the way they played the other night, I'm not surprised.
They did not look
It
good.
was horrid.
They
My
did
goodness.
not look good.
Yeah.
It's been 10 years. So
Hello,
I'd love to
Cheryl.
have a couple of years.
Well, thank
Very
you.
It's Wednesday, January 17th, 5 p.m. I do hereby call this meeting to order and ask Mr. Abbott to please take the roll call.
Mr. Tucker,
Here.
Mr. Noble,
Here.
Vogel. Bud,
Here.
Mr. Cole,
Here.
Mr. Now,
Here.
Mr. Paul.
Here. Quorum is present. We have some introductions before we get started that Ms. Bennett would like to provide, so I'll turn it over to her.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to introduce our intern who just started with us today. His name is Jaden Headlam. He is from Florida Institute of Technology and earned a degree in aeronautical science and aviation management. He also has experience in the British Virgin Islands Airport Authority and airport operations and at the control tower. So we're looking forward to having you go over to meet our controllers in our facility. And he is looking at a career in airport management and also contemplating earning an advanced degree. So we're looking forward to working with you.
Welcome. And you're coming from Miss Bennett's alma mater.
That's
So.
right. And Scott, right?
Oh, it's Scott. Yeah, right.
Thank you. And then
Yes, Mr. Cole.
he's, okay, Mr. Fogel is on the line, unfortunately not well, so he is calling in.
Well, welcome, Mitch. Glad to have you. Hope you feel better.
Hey,
soon.
everybody. Sorry. Thanks. Sorry I can't be there.
No problem.
And I'd also, excuse me if I may indulge me, I'd like to also introduce Robert Murphy, the new general manager at Signature Aviation. You may remember working with Jonathan, but Jonathan has moved on, and so we are fortunate to have Mr. Murphy working with us, Robert.
Welcome. Looking forward to working with you. All right, great. Item A, approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the December 15th, 2023?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 3, agenda changes. We'll spin it. Any agenda changes?
Yes, sir.
Public requests. If any member of the public wishes to provide a comment on any item, the time to do so is now. Please complete a public comment card identifying the item upon which you wish to be heard and provide to Mr. Abbott. The public comment cards are located in the back of the room. Each member of the public wishing to provide comment will have to do so within 5 minutes. The chair reserves the right to move the public comment opportunity by a specific agenda item to the point in the agenda when that item is to be considered and or to extend the allotted time per speaker. Mr. Abbott, any public requests?
No.
Number 5, consent agenda. There are 3 items on the consent agenda this evening. As you all know, consent agenda items are those which the board does not need to discuss individually and which are voted on as a group. Any items may be removed from the consent agenda by a member, the executive director, or airport legal counsel for discussion before the remaining items on the consent agenda have been moved and voted. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right, and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Federal, state, and municipal input. Ms. Bennett,
There is none.
financial report. Mitch, would you like to introduce this item?
Hi, everybody. Yeah, actually, let me pull this up. Hold on. Okay. Let's see. I'm going off of the email that we got attached. There were some financial reports, including the detailed finance report for the 3 months ending December 31st. There have been no changes made to the finance report that was sent out yesterday. And I apologize for this, but I am going. Let's see. let's see, Robert Abbott is gonna do, a breakdown of the finance, figures for us, today.
Take it away.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Cole. So your package is the financial report through December 31st, 2023. Rob, would you have a good one? As we see, total operating revenues, they are approximately 1.7 million. That's 6.2% above budget these days. Operating expenses are approximately 1.2 million, which is down approximately 22.4% budget today. That has net income before depreciation is approximately 564,000. So on behalf of Airport Management and Secretary Treasurer, we respectfully present the December financial report to the airport.
Is there a motion to approve the December 2023 financial report?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Robert. Tenant reports and requests, Ms. Minnick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before you today are three items that are interrelated. They're related to the Atlantic Aviation Master Lease. Item A relates to a memorandum of lease agreement that has been prepared by legal counsel in conjunction with Atlantic Legal Counsel. The need for for this agreement arose when we were reviewing the second item, that's item B, the First Amendment to sublease for the hotel. You may recall that in May of 2022, when you approved the new lease for Atlantic Aviation amended and restated lease, there was language in that lease that allowed for a memorandum of agreement to be executed that would in essence take these hotel sublease, which is a ground sublease for Fairfield Inn, out from the master lease with Atlantic Aviation and assign it to the airport authority. There was language in there that sort of provided for either option, and that agreement has not been executed. So it is agreed among the parties that the hotel will continue to be part of the master lease. So in reviewing the language in preparation of the consent to the sublease amendment that we'll talk about in a minute, it was became evident that we needed to clarify that that memorandum of agreement was not executed and that the definition of the premises for Atlantic Aviation does indeed contain the hotel. So the agreement that you see before you is between Atlantic Aviation and the airport authority to reaffirm the status of the hotel sublease as a sublease of the master lease and to redefine the parcel to include the sublease. So again, what you have on your in your attachments in your agenda packet was a draft. We don't have any changes. No changes have been made, so we're comfortable with what you've seen. Once we take the draft form, there will be no additional changes. So we can recommend the resolution that is attached as part of the agreement, resolution 010424 for airport authority approval.
And that covers both 8A and B, correct?
This is exclusive to 8A, this resolution. This relates to the memorandum of agreement, lease agreement between the airport authority and.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Tuesday.
All right, very good. Is there a motion to approve the memorandum of lease agreement?
I'll make a resolution or a motion to approve resolution 10424.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Item B, Atlantic Aviation consent to First Amendment to hotel sublease agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This, so the sublease agreement, has been consent to sublease agreement, for the hotel First Amendment, has been requested by Atlantic Aviation. In their preparation, and management of the lease, they discovered that there's a discrepancy between the rent that the airport authority charges Atlantic Aviation for the parcel, sub-parcel that contains the hotel, slightly different than the rent that they are collecting from the hotel. So Atlantic and the hotel have developed this agreement, this First Amendment to the lease agreement that verifies that the appropriate rent that Atlantic is paying for the airport authority and reaffirms again that this is all subject to the terms of the master lease. And it also allows for the future CPI adjustments between Atlantic and the hotel to be consistent with the CPI adjustments that we do for our charge of the rent to Atlantic. So in addition to the First Amendment to lease agreement that our legal counsel has developed with Atlantic's legal counsel, there's also a request for a master lessor estoppel that we would be preparing and to facilitate the refinancing of the leasehold mortgage for the hotel. Again, the two attachments are that you received are in draft form. There's a slight modification to which is a error that I made when I accepted all changes and cleaned up the document. There was language that I didn't clean up that was meant to be comment, and that is, where is that? Under.
Can you guys hear me? Hello?
You're right, what we haven't seen is the flight training to this level and the VFR, which is more indicative of the sport and recreational. So next month, the team will present the annual summary and some comparisons. And we'd like to maybe take a little bit of a deeper dive, maybe talking with the FBOs and talking with some of our charter operators and some of the individual pilots as to what they're seeing here at Boca. And then maybe looking at what other, how our trends are stacking up with national or statewide or national trends. Because we do know that overall the business jet activity is down overall, but we want to see how we compare. So we do intend to bring some of that as much as in research as we can get.
And we think some of that has to do with the economy now? Is that what you're
It might be
saying?
typically, and you know, what we've seen over the years, Hannah and Rob and Scott, is that when the weather's mild in other parts of the country, so, you know, that doesn't create a lot of impetus for people to come here. So I'll be curious to see what happens with the weather this week and this weekend. But the sport and recreational is quite low. I know for the flight training, obviously Lynn closes every year, so why is there such a big disparity? And we did have the other flight school have some of their equipment wasn't, so they didn't have all of their aircraft operational this month. So I know that we're working with them on that. So there's some airport specific issues, but we want to see again how we compare with other trends statewide as well as nationwide.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Oakland? Thank you, Hannah. Item B, quarterly safety management system program update, Mr. Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Robert Pratt, Operations Coordinator. Happy to share with you an update on our estimate program. This will be for the fourth quarter of 2023. For the quarter, we did a total of 116 facility inspections, 220 airfield inspections. We also completed 6 inspections on the EMAS beds and on the PAPIs. That's 1 inspection for each set for runway 5 and 23. We completed a total of work orders, so issued and completed a total of 18 work orders. That includes 7 repairs to facilities and 9 repairs to airfield infrastructure. We also broke that down between airside and landside, with 16 out of the 18 being inside the fence line, and the other 2 we consider landside being outside of the fence line or outside of the AOA. I know one of those was Hannah and I replacing a stop sign on Airport Road. Can't remember what the other one was off the top of my head. Incident reports, we had 8 incidents that we reported during the quarter, 3 of those being alert 2s, 2 disabled aircraft, 2 bird strikes, and there was 1 incident of property damage on the field.
Mr. Pratt,
Yes, sir.
given that it's the 15th anniversary of the Miracle on the Hudson, which was caused by multiple bird strikes, is 2 for us in a quarter? Is that normal or rare?
I don't know. I would consider it fairly normal. These ones in particular, there wasn't any aircraft damage. It was more when completing a runway inspection, we found bird remains on the runway. So we treat that as a wildlife strike because that's most likely what it was. So we do the regular submission to the Smithsonian Museum Wildlife Feather Identification Lab, as well as submitted through the FAA portal. So both of those were bird remains that were found on the runway during inspection.
And with the covering of some of the water areas here, that's in the plan, that should maybe mitigate some of that going
Yeah,
forward.
we believe so. Yeah, the ponds right now, when they fill up with water, they tend to get all up attracting for different types of birds. So we do, see that project helping in that area. And we do also regularly, we're out there every day and we have our wildlife dispersal tools that we use to try and keep them away as much as we can. There's also notification made every day about wildlife in the area. So we do what we can. We log everything and keep track of everything. And then everything else is reported through the FAA and the portal that they provide to us.
Thank you.
Sure. Next, going into safety promotion. So promotional activities for the quarter. We're happy to share. We put together a bit of an SMS safety video that we're actually going to be playing for you at the end of my quick presentation over here. So this video kind of encompasses some of the rules and regulations at the airport, certain things that we felt we wanted to put some extra emphasis on. It also covers some of the hazard reporting tools that we have now with the SMS program, the new badges, the new badge templates that we have that will link people to the website with the hazard reporting portal. And the idea is we're going to be playing this video for every person who comes in for a new badge from here on out. So we'll play that for you in a few seconds, and we're very excited to share that. We are also developing a safety awards program. We're hoping to roll this out with the next semi-annual SMS newsletter. It's outlines. We're gonna have a SMS safety hero, and it outlines the process for people to nominate either a coworker or the idea being it would be upper level management who could nominate an employee or someone like that for going way above and beyond in terms of safety, some kind of safety event or something that they feel they want to have their team member recognized for. So there's going to be a gift card as an award. We'll also get the safety hero pins that people can wear, our safety heroes can wear. And then we're looking to possibly with Safety Week, Airport Safety Week this year, we're going to have a lunch with all of the safety heroes that have been identified throughout the year, where we will review the different events that occurred, and then work with the safety heroes to vote and maybe determine a safety superhero, which would be one person that would be recognized for going way above and beyond in trying to, be safe at the airport or promote or do something that enhances the safety here. So very excited about that. I know the board asked us to look into a few safety awards programs that we could possibly look to enter with our SMS program. We've identified a few, but the one that we're primarily looking at entering, this one actually will be end of this month is the deadline to get submissions in. So within the next couple of weeks, we're putting it together now. We're going to be entering the General Aviation Airport Safety Award, which is through the FAA. And so we're excited to do that. We'll keep everyone updated on how that goes. But yeah, up and coming, we have our next annual semi-annual newsletter that we're working on right now. So we're bringing that out next month, and we're also doing some initial planning of Airport Safety Week for 2024. So Hannah, if you wouldn't mind pulling up the SMS safety video for us.
And what week is that? When is that? Safety Week?
I have to verify exactly when we're going to do it. It ties into National Aviation Week, but I can't remember the dates off the top of my head.
Okay.
But it will tie into about the same time as 2023.
August.
August, yeah, August.
Great.
Hang on, your file closed on this, I can't find it again. Mind popping over here? Welcome to the Boca Raton Airport. We at the Airport Authority strongly believe that a proactive approach to managing safety will create value at our airport and give tenants and users peace of mind, knowing that safety comes first. The safety of an airport is everyone's responsibility. The SMS program and your ability to report hazards, along with suggested improvements directly to airport management, will help reduce the chances of safety-related events from occurring in the future. Follow along as we review procedures and reporting for our safety management system program.
Badging and escorts. Every individual in the airport operations area, or AOA, is required to either have an airport ID badge or be escorted by someone with a badge at all times. Airport staff intend to challenge the badge holders are only permitted on the tenant property that has signed as a signatory for their badge. Badge holders are not permitted to travel across the airport to properties that they are not tenants of. If access is needed to another tenant parcel, we highly encourage airport users to take Airport Road to the other location. Driving. The speed limit when driving in the AOA is 15 miles per hour. Aircraft always have the right of way. Vehicles must yield when aircraft are taxiing on the ramp. When driving through the gate, always stop and wait for the gate to close between vehicles. Every vehicle entering the AOA should have an airport ID badge or a badged escort. If you see a vehicle trying to drive through the gate behind another vehicle, notify airport security. The red box on the ramp at our Customs and Border Protection facility is considered international territory, and only approved personnel are allowed to walk or drive it. Please use the drive lane on the east side of the ramp to drive around Customs. There may be a fee charged by Customs for any violators of this requirement. Security procedures. Remember, if you see something, say something. Suspicious activity should always be reported to airport security immediately. If you need the phone number for security, it can be found on every gate. Accident reporting. If you witness an accident involving a person, vehicle, or aircraft anywhere throughout the airport property, immediately contact airport security. If there is a medical emergency, call 911. Hazmat procedures. If you witness a fuel spill of any kind, it is crucial to report it to airport security immediately. Fuel spills must be contained as soon as possible to keep it out of the stormwater system. FOD, or foreign object debris. FOD is defined by the Federal Aviation Administration as any object, live or not, residing in an inappropriate location in the airport environment that can injure airport or air carrier personnel and damage aircraft. It is the responsibility of everyone to either collect or report FOD immediately to ensure a safe operating environment. Hazards. To report safety hazards or suggest improvements, please use the SMS portal on our website. Scanning the QR code on any airport ID badge can quickly access this portal. For immediate safety concerns, please call airport security or 911.
Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. We appreciate your partnership and participation in ensuring the success of our safety management program and helping our community soar.
Very well done.
Yeah.
Really love the production technique.
Yeah.
Gene?
Is this been produced in any other language?
No, not yet.
And what are you suggesting, Spanish?
Well, I'm sure we have some Spanish speaking people, even in Creole, Spanish.
Yeah.
I think there's a way to translate it on YouTube automatically.
Yeah, and I'm not exactly sure if the goal is to disseminate it publicly or if it's gonna be used in-house for solely for vetting purposes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah, that's
slide
the
that came
intent.
up after this was a G7. Do we have any of those on the field?
That was actually my wallpaper.
Did G800 come in here?
We have had a G700
Yeah,
come
yeah,
in.
okay.
Yeah, they brought their demo plane in.
The demo.
A couple, test rides too.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
good.
We need a few of those.
Any other comments for Mr. Pratt?
Very nice.
Good job. Thank you so much for all you're doing there to keep us safe. Appreciate it. Item C, Boca Raton Airport Authority appropriations request updates. So Mr. Now and Mr. Abbott attended the Palm Beach County Days, fly-in in Tallahassee to kick off the 2024 legislative session. And I'd like to hear a little bit about how that went, Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Rob Abbott and I did attend the Palm Beach County Days, flying up in Tallahassee this year. We did meet with most of the state representatives, state senators, as well as county commissioners. And several from the city council were also in attendance up there. So we did get a chance to meet with them, talk about any issues they had with the airport. I'm happy to say they did not have any issues with how the airport operates and runs. And we had a special discussion with Representative Peggy Gossett-Seidman, who, you know, is managing our appropriations request at the state legislature. We specifically offered, since we were in Tallahassee, to meet with anyone that she felt was appropriate to help with the process. But as we understand it from her, it's early on in the process. It's going through the channels that it needs to be reviewed. And she did not ask for, seem to need any additional assistance and has it under control there. So much like with the last time when we went to the legislature, so far so good, but it's just the second week of the legislative session this week. A good series of meetings, so.
Very good. And Scott, do you have?
Sure, just a few other things. As Mr. Now mentioned, the appropriations is usually towards the tail end of the session, so we're not too concerned about the slowness of the movement right there. You should have also received an updated legislative briefing on some of the matters that we're watching. So far, there's been nearly 1,800 pieces of legislation filed between the House and the Senate. A number of them are on our radar, no pun intended. The major one is the fix for the SB 102 from last year, which is the Live Local Act. This is the glitch bill. You may have heard the city council talking about it at their meeting last week. It essentially seeks to reinstitute some airspace protections around airport that were negated in the SB 102 language. So the current proposed language precludes the SB 102 Live Local development, basically allowances within 10,000 feet of any point on a runway. That's slightly problematic, and we've heard some concerns from various members on that, namely because 10,000 feet, 2 miles, it pretty much takes it to the beach. It would pretty much knock out all of Boca Raton, which we know is not the intent. So we're working with the legislature to basically mirror the old Chapter 333, which is the original airspace protection legislation. And that's 10,000 feet from the end of the runway and 1/2 the width of the length of the runway for the width. So that would take care of any noise concerns close in. Other ones we're watching, there's HB 7013. This is a special districts bill. This one is very concerning at first. It would have required a vote for ratification of the districts every 10 years. Many districts spoke out against that. It's on its second committee stop, and this morning there's a strike all amendment introduced, which basically removes some of those. The remainder of the provisions in the bill don't really affect the airport per se. There is one requirement that all special districts, us included, would have to adopt goals and do annual performance reporting. Now, we sort of view this just as a matter of good policy through our budget process, but now it would just be an extra legal requirement upon the authority. There's a few that the FAA have taken interest in. There's one that regards advanced air mobility. You may have heard that there's been a lease signed for the advanced air mobility development of vertiport and the research park. The bills that are out there now are attempting to create some sort of framework around this new technology at the state level. The FAA is not really a big fan of state preemption of what they view as their turf. So we are in contact with the district's office on that. And then there's another very interesting set of bills that are directed at a very specific airport that would essentially require them to let a wealthy individual 737 or 727 land at their facility, even though they really can't handle it. So obviously the FAA is taking umbrage with that one. At the federal level, we are.
Tell us who it is.
Yeah, so.
Oh, I unfortunately don't know. That's just it's something to do with the hedge fund, is my understanding.
And the FAA's concern with that one is they're interpreting it, the bill refers to special district, dependent special districts. So it doesn't just say this at this one airport. So that's their primary concern, and our concern as a staff is scope creep, because it says dependent, but who's to say some enterprising young legislator is going to say, let's do it for all special.
Exactly, and in order for an airport to follow that statute, they essentially have to violate their grant assurances, which is such a good position.
But it is something that, as Scott mentioned, the associate administrator for airports mentioned at our conference last week, that those two bills, so the FAA is watching Florida on this one, so.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
If I can interrupt. So on that particular one, where we're talking about scope creep
Potential.
That is a fairly insightful observation and forward thinking. Is that something that we as staff identify that we better follow because we read it so closely, or are we dependent upon external counsel to identify these opportunities?
We don't have outside council support on,
But I'm just
on
trying to
the,
clarify.
I
Yeah,
know,
so
it's internal, this is.
It's
So in
internal.
other
We
words,
work,
we're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, and we work very closely with the Florida Airports Council's legislative community, so they do have dedicated lobbyists, two of them up in Tallahassee that we work very closely with on any bills that, you know, raise issues in our mind. And so we do have an extensive list at the state level at this point, so.
Would you say that on staff, you are our in-house expert on such issues so that you read the newsletters and all the things that we used to get, Jim?
Yeah.
And it's CPI, so you're the
Yeah,
deeper knowledge than anybody else.
the policy one, yeah.
Policy one,
I
all
like
right.
that, all right,
Somebody's gotta
Another
do it.
time for that.
Okay. good, thank you, sorry.
The other thing I would mention at the legislative level is funding for the part of the federal government expires on this Friday, so we're watching it very closely. This tranche of funding supports Department of Transportation in particular, so that would affect FAA. There seems to be a high level agreement on a top level number for another continuing resolution to get through March 1st and March 8th respectively for the two different tranches. It's kind of surprising that the House is proposing that again, since that was kind of what cost the former speaker his job. But we understand that the Senate is expected to sign a bill tomorrow, and then the House will have to get something in place by the end of day Friday, or else the FAA will have to temporarily suspend operations. This won't affect most of the critical services, with the exception of some of the contract tower programs. There may be an impact there. But normal FAA air traffic control operations would remain in effect. All the safety screening, all the, you know, ramp checks and all that stay in place. And the DOT or DHS funding is set currently to expire on February 2nd. That would affect user fee customs facility if they don't get something in place before then. But we do expect, hopefully, fingers crossed, something to be in place by the end of the week.
And we've been through this a couple of times before, so.
Yeah, I think this will be the third continuing resolution this budget cycle.
Yeah, good.
And then in March, they're releasing their new budget for 2025, so.
And then 25 begins all over.
All right, thank you, Scott. Any questions for Scott, Jim, or Rob on their trip? Thank you for braving the elements to make it to the state capitol during a treacherous time. Appreciate you guys keeping us up to speed on everything in Tallahassee. All right, item D, airport minimum standards review. Travis?
Sure. From time to time, airport management has to review some of the written policy and documents we have here just to keep up with the times and see if anything needs changing. So, for instance, new technologies or new businesses or things such as anything I mentioned before, or something that might not have been envisioned a few years back when the last set of policy was amended and written. So we've been going through the minimum standards just to see what might need to be changing to get a little more current with the times, and any small things such as, for instance, the air charter definition in there. One of the requirements we previously had was say you had to have at least one multi-engine IFR certified aircraft, which now the recent dealings with single engine turbine aircraft, I think there's a lot more of those utilized in charter and utilized very safely. So that was kind of a bit of an antiquated minimum standard, along with some of the others, such as looking into some of the square footages of say charter brokerage, where a lot of things might be now harnessed online. Someone might not need as large staff and office, that type of thing. Some of the others would also be the changes in different operators in and out of the airfield. So, and working with legal counsel to try to narrow down and have to encapsulate everyone in the same boat, as well as working with our insurance vendors to see if our term insurance standards are up to stuff. They encapsulate enough liability coverage for what is currently utilizing the airport, so on and so forth. One of the things we've already held is an initial tenant meeting on November 29th, just to get some initial input on where we'd like the community to go, what direction we want to point. We've also scheduled another tenant input meeting for January 23rd, so upcoming Tuesday at 2 p.m. To again, any tenant that wants to provide some input to us and thinks right or wrong, or what they have line by line on, or welcome to take their input and incorporate it potentially going forward into minimum standards review. As previously mentioned, we're working with legal counsel to hopefully get something in writing and something for you guys to review for the next meeting, and hopefully vote to approve, if deemed acceptable. So I'm happy to try to entertain any type of questions that might entail. I just want to give you a brief update, kind of where we're at with it, and hopefully what we might see next month.
Appreciate that, Travis.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, going back to the charter portion, there was something in there about minimum standards as far as charter. What, can you go back and elaborate?
Yes, to be a charter operator.
Yeah.
Based on the field, and the number of square footage for ramp space, things of that nature.
Was there a minimum number of entrants on that?
One of the provisions that's in the current minimum standards, you have to have at least one IFR certified multi-engine aircraft. Thinking that with the rise in the single engine turbine market, say like Vision Jet and Gladys and turboprops and things that might be a little antiquated because there's a lot of those in the current charter market.
Yeah, that's what
We didn't want to necessarily, keep up business out of the airport that would otherwise utilize it.
All right, thank you.
Anything else for Travis? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Item E, Executive Director of Performance Evaluation. Each year in January, we have an opportunity to work with Ms. Bennett to review her performance for the past year and give feedback. By now, everyone hasn't had an opportunity to meet with Clara and discuss the results of last year and goals going forward. Vice Chairman Randy Nobles is the board liaison on compensation matters and has worked with Clara for the last few years to develop the evaluation form that was mailed to each of you last week. So I'd like to turn over to Randy to present an overview of the evaluation and to guide us through the process.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, if you recall, we I believe it was 3 years ago, went through a pretty extensive review of the format. And I talked to Claire a little bit about it this year, and I'm speaking now just to the format and versus a review. As I went through it, it still seems a little onerous to me. There's it's a 17-page document, and Clara is providing most of that content because it's her performance, and it's great to be reminded of everything she does. But I think next year we want to experiment with two things. A, starting this process a little earlier so it doesn't feel as much like a fire drill as it does. And B, looking at a more of a concise kind of clip notes version of the document that we present to all of you in bullet point fashion. So, what Claire and I talked about was doing something, her getting this a little bit earlier and her and I talking about it a little bit of what a concise version may look at, and then decide whether, we want to push that forward to the full board. So this is something we'd probably do in December, versus January or maybe even earlier. Because I don't know, I see Mel shaking his head that in Cheryl, it just seems like a lot of work for, what we're getting to. And it is good to be able to, remind ourselves of everything that Claire has accomplished during the course of the year and that the team has accomplished. But, she's essentially, it feels like she's writing an annual report of the airport authority versus just her review. So we're going to try to experiment a little bit with a more concise version of this, going forward.
Mr. Chair, can I make an observation?
Yes, ma'am.
Could I suggest, Randy, that in terms of the format, maybe just start that in November?
Yeah.
That would, still, again, as you said, the format is separate from the content. That would give us an opportunity to look at it as a group, have some back and forth and suggestions, and still give you a month or so to implement it. Because if you're gonna get it out earlier than December,
Yeah, I think
everybody's doing different things in September, you might really be looking at October. And it's just
I agree.
format, so.
Yeah.
that-
Yeah, we can do that. I
Yeah.
think, that
And
makes
the
a
other
lot of sense.
observation would be, maybe if you had an idea of what a good length would be, half as long, just say work toward half.
Yeah.
And if you get it, great. If you're a little over, if you're a little under, even better. Smaller font. Yeah.
Well, one of the things we talked about was
Can't read any smaller, but okay.
more bullet points, less narrative. And
There's a lot of words in there.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
3x5.
There you go. So, with respect to the results, and I don't know if there's any update with this at all, Clara, the review, there's two segments. Segment one, 100 points possible, the average was 97. Segment two, which is the dimensions, is a possible score of 5, and the average was 4.9. So, really kind of hitting at the, on all cylinders with respect to the metrics. So, just kind of leading into the compensation. So, we have budgeted and set as Clara's target a 5% salary increase and a 20% performance incentive program or bonus. So, just going through the numbers, Sarah's Clara, his current salary is $250,537. I would make a recommendation to give her the entire, breaking this down into two pieces, the entire 5% of a salary adjustment, which would take her salary to $266,214. And I would make a motion, if I can, to approve that.
I did. All those all right, any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And then the second piece of that is, again, the performance incentive bonus, which again, we have set a target and allocated in our budget 20%. And we go through this every year. The 20% is of the new salary, which is $266,214. So I would make a motion to grant Clara the entire 20%, which is a bonus of $53,243.
I'm sorry, as a matter of clarification for the record, I just want to confirm that the evaluation process reflected that at least half of the objectives were fully implemented. That's my understanding. I just want to make sure it's on the record because that's an eligibility requirement in her contract.
Thank you, Amy.
Yep. All right, and you made a motion. Do we have a second on the bonus?
I'll make a second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion
Aye.
carries.
I do have one.
Yes, ma'am.
Further suggestion, if
Uh-huh.
I may. As long as we are looking at format changes, so in that part 1 in October, we are very lucky in that we have an executive director who continually exceeds expectations. I mean, these averages are really extraordinary, and it is not just a one-time thing. So the challenge is really for our liaison here and for the executive director, if we can identify areas that could be stretch goals. So I think what we have here is, again, an individual who excels, and we have touched certainly all the basics for performance. There must be some things out there that Clara could help identify that would be stretch. So it wouldn't necessarily fall into, or maybe it would, into what your format would be.
Right.
It might also speak to the formula.
It's a separate section.
It's a separate section, and if you have stretch goals, then usually another piece goes down. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I leave that.
I agree, and actually Claire and I did talk about that to say, it's become routine for us to blow away our standard goals every year. So, what can we put out there that maybe we don't meet, but we don't want to penalize Claire for it at the end of the day.
Comfortable with, but again, line of sight at this, you go, I certainly do not feel that we're rubber stamping. I read every word and I write a comment on every entry, and I'm sure each of you do too. I spent an hour and a half with Clara, and we talked about, we all do that. But at the same time, our responsibility is, well, okay, great, she's wonderful, absolutely agree with that, and support that. There still needs to be
Agree.
something there that is.
Perhaps since the goals that are in the evaluation are the budget goals, the business objectives, so perhaps the organizational goals, and then there's some individual goals. That's maybe where the stretch goals come in, where they're unique.
Leave that to you, and that's
Yeah.
part of what hopefully you would
Yeah,
come back.
yeah.
with. And I would hesitate to make financial, because that's the other thing we blow off. I mean, we
Yeah.
blow the top off every time.
When do you want to present these goals? Because we need to have her, give her the opportunity to reach those goals throughout the years. So
Right.
we need to
Right.
identify those in
Yeah.
a reasonable period of time here.
True.
Yeah.
Because we're
So
working
maybe
on
it's
the
a
budget.
three-part thing.
Yes,
Right.
the ones that were in the budget, we
Right.
approved at the meeting.
So maybe it's a
We can
October.
add another
But-
component.
But there are things that aren't in the budget that are on the
Right.
performance
Yeah.
review, like doing, 4 lunch and learns a year and things like that. And
Community
a lot of the community engagement stuff, which is, so, and Claire and I did agree, we don't need to hire a compensation consultant to do this, as this is something that we can work through on our own.
And I think with our corporate backgrounds, we know enough
Yeah.
about that. We don't need to be paying $20,000. I'd rather, if
Yeah.
we're doing 20, I'd rather give it to Clarion.
Right.
Or
Right.
staff or something
Right.
like that, rather than go out the door
Yeah.
for something we can do ourselves.
Very good.
All good points, Cheryl.
Great discussion.
Good job.
Yeah.
And congratulations
Thank you.
once again, Ms. Bennett.
Yep.
Another
Thank you
banner
very
here.
much. And
Appreciate
thanks to
all
the
that.
team for helping us achieve our
Yeah.
organizational goals.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Can I say one
Yes,
more
Ms.
thing, if I may, just following up on what Clara said, and she says it all the time, and it is certainly implied in everything that we say and do during this, review. All these numbers Clara could not do, she could not reach any of this if it were not for the camaraderie and
All of you.
excellence of this team, so
Absolutely.
congratulations.
Absolutely. Very well said. Excellent. Item 10, Authority Board Member Requests and reports. Any board members? Randy?
Nope.
All good. Well, how's the arm? Doing okay? Okay. Mitch, anything from you? We hope you feel better and we hope to see you soon.
Thanks, guys. No, I'm good. Appreciate it.
All right, Mr. Fulton?
Nothing from
Sure, very good. All right, public comment, Mr. Abbott, anything? Other business? Any other business to come?
One
before
thing,
the board?
Mr.
Yes, sir.
Chair.
Uh-huh.
As some of you may know, we are receiving a proclamation from Commissioner Woodward.
Oh, yes, well, next week.
Next Tuesday at the county commission meeting. I know some of you will be attending. I believe so far we have Mr. Now, the chair, and Ms. Bud. If anyone would like to carpool up, I will be attending as well. We'll probably leave here between 8 and 8:15.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, I would definitely,
I'll be here.
yeah,
So,
because the
Okay.
traffic, of course, you'll be
Yes.
on I-95 will be somewhat horrendous. At that
correct.
time. Does that give us enough?
So meet at me here.
So, so do you have a wheels up at 8:15? Or, I mean, is that what you're saying, between 8 and 8:15?
If we can make it closer to 8, that's probably better for
Okay.
the distance,
Okay.
because we'll have to find parking, walk to the government
Okay,
complex,
good.
find the chambers, and we should be there by at least 9:15, so we can coordinate with the commissioner.
Good, I will make sure to join as well. Very good. So the next meeting of the Boca Raton Airport Authority will be February 24th, 2024 at 5 p.m. in this conference room at the Boca Raton Administration Building. Motion to adjourn?
One more thing.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Sorry. Claire, give us 60 seconds, if you will, about what's happening Friday.
Sure, excellent. Thank you so much, Ms. Bud. So we're so excited. We're having our event, our cocktail reception and dinner on Friday evening at 6. Thanks to Signature Aviation. I keep saying flight support in my head, but I'm old and I can't be retrained. For hosting us, we really appreciate your hospitality and your willingness to work with us. We know it's going to be a beautiful venue, so unique for people who are our stakeholders, who are supporters of the airport. We have about 200 people RSVP, which is much higher. We blew the budget. I have to tell you already that we are.
It's worth it.
Because we were expecting, we were planning, right, for 150, right? I thought we would be at 125, so it blew us away that we have about 200 people, and we only invited about 225 or so people, so great response rate. The proclamation that Commissioner Woodward is going to be giving the authority next week at the Board of County Commissioners meeting. Well, she will present that Friday night as well. There will be a proclamation from Senator Berman, and there will be a plaque presented by the city. So we're just so honored and thrilled to have had that level of response, positive response and reaction. We have some treats planned, some activities planned, and we'll have a band. There'll be opportunity to just really celebrate the role of the airport in the last 75 years in this community and the support that we've received for this community in the past and present and into the future. And I'd like to thank Ryan, Sherwin, and the rest of the team at Garth for all of their hard work. I think they're gonna need probably like a couple bottles of scotch or something after, because they and Christine and Rob and Hannah and the rest of the team have really done such an amazing job of thinking of every single detail. And we know the event's gonna be a beautiful event. That's right. That's right. And hopefully we'll make it look good.
Very good. Well, thanks for the update. Look forward to seeing everybody there. And without any further ado, call motion to adjourn.
Second.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks, Mitch.
Bye, Mitch.
Mitch.
Bye-bye.